build. And we're not going to leave any stone unturned in that quest, because we believe that for this country to develop, and President Obama told us, we didn't have to get him to come all the way from the US to tell us that Africa needs strong institutions. Africa needs institutions that will work. And we want SIGA to be one of those institutions in Ghana that people will look to and say that this institution is making a difference in the public sector, especially. And that is our vision. And we are going to work hard with your support as the media and the good people of Ghana to achieve that. I have had the opportunity to work at the highest level in the US, in Europe, in Africa, and I believe that if they can do it, we can do it. Because the people who are sat in boardrooms with in the US, they are no different from the people I'm sitting in boardrooms with today. And I am very passionate about that. You can feel it in my voice. And I want SIGA to be like that. To be able to achieve that mission that I've talked about very passionately, what is our vision? What is our mission to achieve that vision? Is to contribute to a robust economy by transforming the operations of specified entities through good corporate governance, operational efficiency, and monitoring. I think when we look at our SOEs, and most families in Ghana have benefited from an SOE. I said that one day and somebody said, "Oh, I haven't." I said, it may not be you, but maybe your uncle or your grand-uncle. I think sometimes we all have to hang our head down in shame, because the vision that Osagyefo Dr. Nkrumah had, the vision that President Kufuor had, the vision that our current president had, has not manifested through the operations of the SOEs. And SIGA has to change that, and SIGA seeks to change that, because through good corporate governance, operational efficiency, and monitoring, we should be able to use these entities as economic superhighways, so that when you're a private entrepreneur and you want to do something, already that path would have been created through our SOEs, and that's what we are hoping to do. To be able to achieve our vision and mission, our focus is very simple. We have 3 pillars: organizational excellence, operational efficiency, and financial sustainability. SOEs have to be managed well. SOEs have to show excellence. When you look at SOEs in other parts of the world, Austria, Germany, why are they doing so well and ours are not? It's because of organizational excellence and also operational efficiency. You cannot manage or continue to manage these SOEs as if they are your little corner shops. That's what a lot of our chief executives have done in the past. Fortunately, with the SIGA Act being passed, that is changing now. And they have to be financially sustainable. I feel very sorry when I hear everybody talking about the finance minister and pushing him as if he spent the money on his family. It's because a lot of these entities in Ghana are not run properly. So as a disbursement officer, you become the fall guy. But seriously, are we being fair? Are we really being fair? Because people are running these organizations and running them down, and they are going to him or they are going to the Ministry of Finance. Now a lot of them come to SIGA. Do this for us, do this for us, do this. How are we going to make the money back? They have no idea. That is not sustainable and it has to be changed. If you cannot prove that the money we are giving you has a return path, we will advise the president, in our wisdom, to maybe close down some of these institutions, or we dispose them off. The challenge with disposing of these entities, people always say, monton. To who? Because if we also don't take care, we'll wake up one day and our country will be owned by foreigners. And we don't want that either. So we have to be responsible. If these things are given to us, it's my responsibility at SIGA as the Director General to make sure that it works. To make sure that it works. But if I don't have that sense of responsibility and I leave SIGA anyhow, how do you expect that the money that has been pushed into SIGA will have a return path. So we are really, really looking at these three pillars. And you, the media, when you go into these organizations, shine your torch on them. Are they running an effective organization? Is there operational efficiency? And is there financial sustainability? Whatever money is given to them, whether big or small, they have to be able to account for it. SIGA has a very broad mandate. We have 175 entities presently in our portfolio. Out of these 175, 43% can be classified as other SOEs. Other SOEs, we look at entities like FDA, and I'd like to commend the FDA here. They are doing a very good job, DVLA and others. And then 30% state-owned entities. State-owned enterprises. These ones, SOEs, normally have a commercial imperative. Other SOEs can be regulators. They are not necessarily there to make a profit, but to run the industry. But SOEs have a mandate to make a profit. We look at the likes of ECG, Ghana Airports, CBG, and ADB. They have no business not turning a profit. Unfortunately, a lot of these institutions have never turned a profit, but yet still they are classified as an SOE. And then we have 27%, which are joint venture companies, some of them listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange, some of them we own them with other foreign entities or maybe Ghanaian entities. The likes of these are GOIL, SIC, and Vodafone. Within SIGA, we've grouped to make our work easier because there are not many of us as well. We work in sectors. So we have the agriculture, ICT, and manufacturing sector. They focus on that side. And then we have the energy sector. Energy is very, very critical to us because with all the industrialization, we're talking about everything. Unless we get our energy parameters right, it's going to be difficult because whatever we're doing in this country, we're also competing with other countries. So if we are buying electricity at maybe 10 cents per kilowatt and they are doing at 6 cents per kilowatt, how do you compete? So we have a very, very strong focus on energy. Then we have the transport and infrastructure, finance and allied services, and the regulatory. So these are our 5 sector units within SIGA that we work from. How do we manage SIGA as the 3 pillars I've talked about? Organizational efficiency, financially sustainable, and also as an efficient institution. We have a governing board. The Director General is myself. We have 2 deputies. One is in charge of operations, and the other is in charge of finance and administration. And then we have various heads of entities, most of whom are here with me today and ready to take your questions. In terms of our functions, we work very, very closely with the ministries and the ministers. My hope and my vision is that in years to come, SIGA will be given full responsibility to be the execution arm of government, as happens in other countries. So the ministries and the ministers will focus on policy development. They do the policy, and then SIGA comes in to execute, because that is our skill. We know how to make things happen, and we deliver to the letter. And that is what our mandate should be. That's why for us right now, we're trying to get the brightest and the brainiest Ghanaians who are interested in public sector work to come and work at SIGA. But you should have an interest in execution, because you are not coming to SIGA to do policy. That is not us. Our job is to make sure that the entities execute their mandate as defined by their ministers or as defined by cabinet. Right now, it's a bit of mishmash because traditionally, execution has sat in the ministries and they don't want to let go. But if we get SIGA to where SIGA has to be, they will let go. In fact, they will have to let go, because that is where the execution can be done. And when execution takes place within SIGA, you will begin to see the results. So that is our focus, working with the ministers to evaluate the mandate of state-owned enterprises and to make recommendations to the relevant sector minister, evaluating their strategic plans and organizational structures, ensuring adherence to the terms and conditions of the annual performance contracts. Right now, one of the biggest achievements of SIGA to date is we're working with all the specified entities, and they do come and sign their performance contracts with us. Before, that was not being done, and now it's being done religiously. Now, once they sign those performance contracts, which is based on policy direction from their ministries, we make sure that they execute within the parameters of those performance contracts. Now, once we've signed it, we have a monitoring team that goes out to make sure that you said you are going to provide 10 blue shirts. Are you really providing 10 blue shirts, or you are providing gray shirts and calling them blue, which is what is happening a lot in this country? We are going to change that. We also prepare and submit to the sector minister quarterly reports and annual assessments. So at the end of the year, we'll tell the minister that you said you were going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not possible, because sometimes our policies too are not possible to execute. And sometimes we execute them half-half. You don't know whether you've baked the bread, or you've baked the cake, or you've baked abolo, afrafra. We need to change it. And that is what we are hoping to do with our performance monitoring and evaluation system. And then most importantly, I talked about dividends. How can government continue to pay salaries, invest in infrastructure, invest in all these companies, and never get anything back? That has to change. So our primary focus also is to ensure that the SOEs pay dividends to government, and they pay these dividends on time, because these are the dividends that is needed by government and the Ministry of Finance to be able to do some of the things that they have to do. I'm sure if most of our SOEs were paying the right dividends, probably we may not be in this state. They are not paying the dividends, so you have to hold them responsible. The SOEs, we'll give you the list of their names and hold them responsible. Ask them why they are not paying the dividends. Then one important thing also is sanctions. I believe that all these countries that we all are all so proud of, oh, look at UK, oh, look at this place, oh, look at that. Why need you money be you? It's simple. Why need you money be you? You know, you man necessary. Let's watch now. Why in a year you be you? So there has to be consistency of performance. So one of our roles is to advise government on the appointment and removal of chief executives or members of the boards or other governing boards of specified entities. If you're a board member, your first thing is, what can I get from the organizations? A lot of our board members go to these places, and all they want are transactions. They want the CEO to buy them a car. They want a deal on the table. If you're a board member and your CEO continues to give you deals, how can you tell the CEO that so you are compromised? So it's our job. And the last two we take very seriously, the dividend policy. How can you be sitting in a state institution for 5 years, you haven't done your audited reports, you haven't paid any dividends? We will advise the president to remove you. And that's going to be the role of SIGA going forward. It may not happen during my time, but we're going to put in place the pillars and the framework, and definitely it will happen. That one I can assure you. Unless SIGA is disbanded, it will happen. The SIGA will advise the government that thing is not performing, so remove him. Now, in terms of our mandate and measuring performance, we'd like to share with you some of our success stories. Because even though SIGA is we started in 2019, so technically we're about 3.5 years old. We're still a toddler. But we've done well in terms of financial reporting and holding some of these entities responsible. To be able to do that, one of the things that we've been doing is engaging other stakeholders, because SIGA cannot do it alone. So in the last year, we've worked and developed very deep relationships with the Controller and Accountant General. But this afternoon, we'll be addressing most of the CEOs on the expectations for 2023 through our sector minister and the vision of our minister, Joseph Kujo. We've also started the PELT Awards to recognize CEOs who do the right thing. And also, we work on the state ownership report. We're going to work with the media to enhance and make this report the Bible of excellence, so that when your name appears in, CEOs know that they have to be on the right side of the state ownership report. We thank you very much for the publicity you gave to the last state ownership report. But read it before you make these sweeping statements. My challenge with most of you is you take it, you don't read it, and then you start talking. The next one that's coming, please read it. And if you have questions, come and ask us so that we are all on the right page. We want to work with the media. I think we have some graphs. I'll skip some of my pages in terms of our achievement. I don't want to stand here and be like, but now, in terms of profitability, some of the SOEs are doing well. Ghana Boss is one of them, and I'd like to commend the CEO. CBG is another one. I'd like to commend the CEO. FDA is another one. I'd like to commend the CEO. These are the institutions that are moving towards excellence. If you look at their records 5 years back and you look at their records today, you realize that there's a marked difference. And I would urge the media also to pick on some of these institutions and shine the torch so that people will realize that they are doing well. The truth is that success also attracts success. If other CEOs realize that one is being touted all the time, they would also want to follow. So this issue of always putting all the specified entities into one big basket that it's like everybody is useless is also very, very unfair, because there are some of our CEOs who are doing very, very well. And in that regard, I would urge you that you also develop your expertise in those areas. You cannot be reporting on energy today and then tomorrow you are doing agriculture, the following day you are doing automobile. It's difficult. So if you are a reporter here today, you want to focus on energy so that you see the CEOs in those sectors who are doing well and the ones who are not doing well. Because sometimes I also feel it's very, very unfair that everybody is branded the same, because the truth is that we are not the same. Some are tall and some are short. Some are fair and some are dark. So if you enter the room and you brand all of us as the same, are you being fair? And I think that's something that you also have to look at. In terms of loss reduction and turnaround, I've already spoken about that. I gave examples. BOST is a good example. CBG is a good example. In terms of FDA, if you look at a lot of the things they have done, they've done well. There may be problems, and there will always be problems. But let's look at and let's also encourage people. The CEO who is there today has a mandate. Maybe 5 years, 10 years, they'll be gone. But the truth is that you should inspire the next person who is coming so that they also build upon what the previous one did. If you lump all of them, it becomes a problem. Now, in terms of SIGA itself, what are we doing and what are we doing to achieve all these excellent things that I've been talking about? Because before we can do these things, the truth is we also have to get our own house in order. So within SIGA itself, we are driving internal efficiency and productivity. We have the smart workplace. We have the document management system, because we deal with a lot of documents from all the specified entities. And I have my director of ICT here. I'm not a very technology-savvy person, so I don't pretend he's the one doing the job. Stand up and let them see you, George. So on the press of a button, you will get the document. So if you want any information, call him, take his number. And then also enterprise resource planning, and then data. Data management is key, and data is also money. And that's what we want to do at SIGA, to leverage data. I think the Vice President has talked a lot about it. We do this. But most importantly, after everything is said and done, we want to be the voice of the customer, the voice of the Ghanaian people, the voice of the Ghanaian taxpayer, to make sure that you get a good return on your investment in these specified entities. So that's us internally. How do we, with all the technology, the legal framework, the corporate affairs, and everything that my people are putting together, how does it work on the other side? We're working on putting in place a real-time monitoring system of SOEs, where we also engage with them on a regular basis, so that I could be able to sit in my office and easily see what is going on within each SOE, because we have that interface. Isn't that the case, George? Yeah. And then also we're developing the SOEs portal. Plus, there's nothing that beats communication. We're having regular engagements with our SOEs, discussing issues, so that they advise us and we advise them. In terms of our interaction with the executive, I'd like to use this platform to thank His Excellency, the President. He gives us a lot of time. He gives us a lot of time. Every time we've called him, he's made himself available. And it's because of the interest he has in making sure that the SOE sector is transformed. The reason why the SOE sector has to be transformed is very simple. Let's take our industry, media. If you go to, I started off in media in the US. I didn't know what a mast was. I didn't know what a mast was. But I worked in one of the biggest media companies, because that was somebody's job. That was a stage job. So you want to do a radio station, you go there, you tell them how far you want to transmit, you get your license, you give it to them. They do everything for you. Your job is to buy the microphones you have, your camera. And that's what we knew. When I came to Ghana and I wanted to do the same thing, you have to construct your road. You have to buy a generator. You have to sometimes hide the security for the area because somebody else will come for your land. How can you compete? So whenever I hear people saying that, oh, Ghanaians are bad business people, I tell them, you've never been an entrepreneur before, so you don't know. It's because you have to do everything from ground zero. Plus, the cost of money is very expensive. So that's why the President is very, very keen to make sure that SOEs work, so that they've developed the economic superhighway, so that if you're a young person, you want to go into that kind of industry, you don't have to start from ground zero. So we'd like to thank him for the time he gives us, and I'm hoping that the chief executives also appreciate the amount of time that he's given us. So far this year, he's met us 3 times. And I don't think it's, anywhere in the world, it's a privilege, which we don't take for granted, and you can see from the pictures. He's going to meet us again before the year ends, I hope, for our stakeholder forum. And that's why I say that arguably, if SIGA works, that's going to be one of his lasting legacies. We'd also like to thank the Minister of Finance. He's also met with us a few times, because his vision is to get these SOEs to work, to pay dividends. If SOEs are contributing 30% of GDP, that's about $30 billion, if you look at our present GDP. But they are doing less than 5%. So I'm entreating you, the media, to take them to task. Why are they not contributing to GDP? And how can we also help them to contribute to GDP? Because that's the target the minister has set, 30%. We're also meeting with board chairpersons, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank some of our board chairpersons who are very diligent, very, very serious. They want to see change. A lot of them, as they tell me, Edward, we don't have much time, but we want to see change. We want to see the process. People like Abra Apia of CBG, Pakwisi Yankee of Ghana Water. There are many, many more of them. But they are passionate. They meet with me all the time, and I'd like to thank them. We're having these continuous engagements. I think you always look at the chief executive, but also look at the board's performing, because the buck stops with the board. If things are not happening, or a CEO is having his way or her way, is the board effective? So I think you also have to shine the torch on them. The good thing about everything is that, like I said, success begets success, and success tells its stories. The story of SIGA is being heard very far away. Other African countries are beginning to like what we are doing, and in fact, are sending people here to work with us. This year, we received delegations from Gambia. They were with us about 4 weeks ago, who want to copy the SIGA model to also transform their sector. So we also want you to tell the SIGA story. Somebody is telling our story in Gambia, but we're not making your front page. Why? We should be making your front page. If people from Gambia are hearing our story and coming over. Liberia has also been over, and they'll be coming again. Somaliland also sent a delegation here, and also Guinea. So we're not doing badly, even though we believe that we haven't even done 50% or more of the tasks that we've set ourselves. The reason why it's important for our SOEs to work is also the fact that I spoke about it earlier. If you look all over the world, you look at France, South Africa, Russia, Germany, even the US. The SOEs play a very, very critical role. So all these countries have similar entities like SIGA. France, fortunately, they are working very closely with us, and I'd like to thank the French ambassador and also thank her colleagues at AFD. They give us a lot of support, and as we speak, they've even sent somebody from France to work with us. We really, really appreciate it and don't take their support for granted. Recently, we've made the ambassadors of the US, China, and Japan, and they are also going to work with us. So there's a lot of good that is also coming from the hard work that my people are putting in. And I thank all of you very much, because it's easy for me to stand up here and talk so passionately, but without your support, I wouldn't be standing here. So thank you very much, all of you. Thank you, Olivia, Joshua, Stephen, Eric, Rosemond, and Rosemary, Rosemary, and George, and the ones who are not here, Elsie and Co. Thank you. I think, a leader is as good as the people around him. And for me, I'm very lucky I have an excellent team. So they are excellent. Thank you very much. Clap for them. Why? You are scared to clap. So we've talked about performance. I've talked a little bit about governance in terms of holding the boards accountable. We will continue to strengthen their capacity, offer training programs. For those of you in the media also, we are willing to offer you training in specific sectors like energy, manufacturing, automobile, so that you can also tell the story. And we are happy to work with you on that next year. And then next year, we're also going to work on the state ownership policy. One of the things that we're going to do next year, and I'm using this medium to appeal to our CEOs to work with us and the boards, is that some of our entities were registered 1965, 1957, even before some of us were born. And the law has changed. The law that set them up has changed 3 or 4 times. Yet, the regulations that cover them are the same. So we're going to put a team together to make sure that every specified entity in Ghana is re-registered. They have an asset portfolio. People sit on land they don't own. We need to change all that. We're going to start with ourselves. You cannot be an entity and you only realize that you don't own the building when we ask you to go and bring your collateral. And for the first time, they realize that the building is not even in their name. It's a defunct entity. So we are going to straighten all those caves and make sure that things work. So the governance is going to be strengthened and improved. And in the course of doing that, maybe there will also be casualties, because the ones that don't comply will advise the president accordingly. Then compliance is important. As I said, we're going to deploy the real-time monitoring system. This afternoon at 3 o'clock, we're meeting the entities. I don't understand how people can run $1 million or million CD organizations and they cannot do management accounts. After all, when you give your child, or when we're children and we're giving pocket money, before your father or your mother gives you more money, don't you account? You do account. So how can you be running an organization and we ask you for management accounts and you don't have it? So we're going to insist on compliance, and we're going to insist on it in a timely manner. If it's 3rd of the month, it's 3rd of the month. Some people submit their first quarterly report in June. How is that possible? That is going to change. And if you don't do it, you'll be sanctioned. We're also going to work on our state ownership report. And then we're going to publish a list of specified entities. Right now I have 175. But there are more government entities. Some of them, they keep saying that they are not under us. We need your help to make them aware that they are under us. It's not because we want to have them, but we want things to be straight. We want the lines to be straight. So we're going to publish that list. And once the list is published, please help us to propagate it. We need your support on that. I've talked about the performance contracts. And then I've also talked about the compliance. I think we need a support on management accounts and audited accounts. And then also for entities to come and sign their performance agreements. We shouldn't be chasing them, because it's part of your job responsibility to sign your performance agreement. So right now, we're going to stop chasing. If you don't come and sign, we'll just send it to the office of the president for the appropriate action to be taken. And then also, we want entities to also start improving their IGF. I think there's too much reliance on government. Most entities can improve their IGF collection, because when they do that, it also helps us as SIGA, because the more money they make, then we can also build them small. Right now, we're also struggling as SIGA because they're not paying dividends, their IGF is low. That has to change. Going forward, we at SIGA, we're going to intensify our collaboration with all our colleagues, controller, PSC, internal audit, SHRAJ, all of them, because we have to work together. The dots have to connect. We alone cannot do the job. And they all have different mandates. And if we can connect the dots, then the wheel can move smoothly. A bicycle has 36 spokes. Some of them are long, some of them are short, some of them are medium. Take out anyone. If you go home, you can test it if you have a bicycle. Take out any of the spokes, and the bicycle becomes wobbly. You can't have a smooth ride. That's Ghana. Spokes are not even. So we want to make sure that all the spokes are fairly fitted. And that's why we're working closely with all these entities. We'll also be working very closely with our sector ministry, and also our oversight body in Parliament. We've met them a few times this year, and I would like to take the opportunity to thank them. Chairman, Honorable Baswa, and Ranking Member, Kwabna Donko. I've learned a lot from him. We'd like to thank them and thank all members of the board for the interest they've shown in the SEs, and we urge them to continue to do that and to hold all of us to higher levels of excellence. I'd like to show you a picture of SIGA. We're one big happy family, and thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Did you like my presentation? Then clap for me.
The insightful presentation, DG. A lot has been said, but what was shocking to me was the fact that specified entities contribute about 5% to our GDP. That was a real shocker. And I believe with all the programs and policies that you have at SIGA, you will be able to help us move that from 5% to the 50% contribution that our resources are sent to them. So thank you so much for the presentation. And it's also important to acknowledge some media houses who have joined us this morning. We are live on GTV, ETV, Happy FM, Oman FM, and on Facebook at Ministry of Information. Please, it's now time for Q&A. If you have any question, this is the best time to ask. We can take 2 sets of questions. If you raise your hand, they will bring the microphone to you. You mention your name and media house and proceed to ask your question. Okay.
Yeah, my name is John Awuni, and I represent Kesben. I would like to thank the DG for the consummate passion he spoke about his sector. But I just want to ask this. I think somewhere 7 months ago, the PELT was launched to assess these state enterprises. That is Public Enterprise League Table. And I remember asking a question whether the non-performing state agencies, as it pertains in football, after every season, the last or the bottom 3 or the bottom 4 are relegated. So will this time around, looking at the manner in which you spoke and the contribution to Ghana's economy, those non-performing agencies, what will happen to them this time around? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. We can take Paul and then come to you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. My name is Paul Nyoja Dalafo, and I report for the Daily Statesman. DG, thank you very much for your presentation. And I have 2 key questions, and I want to find out from you, as of the 175 state-owned entities as stated, how many of them are able to turn in their dividends since your assumption of office or before you assumed office? And how much has been accrued as interest? Because we cannot go to an agency to propagate your story if we are not able to know how much the agency owes us. If you don't know how much I owe you, then I can ask you how much, when are you paying me? It will be very unfair to that agency. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Obed. I report for Star FM. DG, you spoke about governance, and I want to talk about good governance also. Some of these state-owned enterprise or agencies render some services to the public, which are critical. But we are all aware that sometimes we experience some issues of, I don't want to say corruption, but money's exchanging hands before some services are rendered. in terms of good governance, what are you doing to ensure that these state enterprises do not engage in such practices? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question, Obed. We can take 2 more for this round.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Agyapong. You are doing well. The intent is there. I have 2 questions to ask you, or 2 problems to address. I believe that some of our CEOs and technocrats at the state-owned enterprises are overly paid. I believe there is over remuneration. Why am I saying that? In the years gone by, when Ghana had a problem with the brain drain, a lot more Ghanaians went out and therefore didn't have the hands to handle these SOEs. And therefore, there was a deliberate policy by the then government to entice or to bring home these people to help build the SOEs. And therefore, a special pay packet was designed for them. But today's age in Ghana, we have a lot of graduates, some with 3 masters, 2 masters, PhD, plenty of them abound. Why must we still pay these people the same salary regime? For instance, people take free petrol, free accommodation, house help, garden boy, and all those things. And meanwhile, they're making losses. I think the state must look at it critically at this time of our economic woes, because we need to change the status quo. That's my belief, and that's the belief of other people in Ghana as well. My second question, Mr. Agyapong. Some people believe that there is over-politicization of appointments of some CEOs and technocrats. And therefore, when they go there, they don't have the free hands to operate, because why? They owe allegiance to the appointing authorities. Don't you know the time has come for a separate body to appoint these people, like Public Services Commission, so that they may have the ability and the capability to perform without looking at the backs and without looking at the baton on them? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the questions. We can take 1 more question for this round, if any hand is up. If not, okay. Please wait for the microphone.
Thank you. My name is Atamensa from Ghana News Agency. I want to add up to what Nana Poku said regarding appointment of CEOs, but I want to specify on some senior staff who have crossed the mandatory age of 60 for retirement. Some are still there, and instead of them to go on retirement, the government gives them even extension, and they stay there for 2 or 3 years. Well, there are people waiting to even occupy their position, and this has created a lot of tension within state. And these state enterprises are not making profit. Meanwhile, they are paying those who are supposed to go on retirement. What effort is he making to ensure these things are stopped? Thank you.
Thank you so much for the questions. I will invite Ambassador Edward Boateng for his responses, and then we'll come back again for your follow-ups.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. So we start with Kesben, which is the Pelt Awards, and what are we going to do with non-performing assets, specified entity. As we speak, we are putting together a memo for the consideration of the President and Cabinet on some of the SOEs. You know, when we set off as a country, we didn't have much capacity, so government had to do everything. Today, the private sector is strong enough to take up some of these challenges in some of our sectors. So there are some of these entities that we're looking at government to dispose of, whether government will have shares in it or government will go into joint venture with them. Now, the entities that we believe have outlived their usefulness will have once it's assessed and realized that, yes, this entity should be shut down, SIGA will do that. SIGA will do that. But I think we need to also do the analysis of it and make sure that the decisions we make also serve the interests of the Ghanaian people. So we are working on that, and that is definitely something that you'll be seeing in the years coming, that government will be getting out of some of these industries for the private sector to move forward on. Then daily statesman, you talked about dividends and interest payments, right? Now, in terms of dividends, I think I will need help here. I don't want to give the wrong figures. Olivia, can you help me in terms of, yeah. You can come here.
In terms of the dividend,
you can come here.
the total dividend receipts for specified entities as of 2020 was 275.48 million, as against the projected target that we were expecting, which was 290.94 million. Some have projected to pay for 2021, which the 2021 we have not yet received, and we are hoping that by the close of the year we shall have something from them. So in 2020, this is from the SOR, the State Ownership Report. So currently this is what we have at SIGA, 275.48 million as against 290.94 million. Thank you.
So, but still these figures, if we improve organizational efficiency, can be improved. But in terms of interest payments for the ones that are not paying, how do you slap interest on zero? They are not paying us anything. So it's difficult at this point. Our response, what we are focusing right now is to make sure that there's a turnaround so that they can start paying something. Already they are not paying you, so if you start compounding their challenges with interest payments, I think that will even make the situation worse. So we will continue to push them to see those who are supposed to pay dividends, that they do pay the dividends and pay the dividends on time. That's our focus for now. Now, Star FM talked about good governance and money changing hands. That problem is our problem. It's not the CEO's problem. It's not the president's problem. Because if you come to SIGA and you give my receptionist money, how would I know? So it's become an endemic problem in our country, such that anybody, when they are doing something for you, expects to be paid. The truth is that that itself is not a bad thing. The waiter expects a tip, and your service, they will give you tips. So if they know that Edward is a good tipper, when you go there, you get very good service. But they are paid. But the tip adds to their wages. When I went to China, when you tip, they give it back to you, because it's not part of their culture. When you give a waiter a tip, they'll give it back to you. Sometimes you literally have to push them that, oh, there's nothing wrong with it. Say, no. It's my job to serve you. So we've all been part of a system that has created that culture of give me something before I help you. So if we want to change it, it's a collective. It's a collective. One person cannot do it. The Minister of Finance said recently there should be no hampers. Do you know the number of calls I've received from the people who have planned to sell hampers? They are lobbyists. I mean, it's so you may see hampers going around, but it's because it's a collective. So we all say these things, but the thing is, unless we as a nation and as a people decide that this is the direction we want to go, it will be difficult to solve some of these problems, especially in a culture like Ghana where gift giving is expected. When you travel and you come back, people expect you to give them a gift. Why? Did they give you money when you were going? That is part of our culture. And all leads to the undercurrent and the bribery. So it's something that, at least for us, as part of our corporate governance, we're putting things in place that what level of gift can you take? And what level of gift can you not take? We need to put all these things on paper so that people are very, very clear. I remember when I started working in the US in a media company, one of our bosses traveled to Saudi Arabia and was given a gift, a watch. It was quite an expensive watch. But we had a policy written down. When you were high that day, you signed that you couldn't take a gift above so much. At his level, it was $50. And this watch was probably worth $2,000. And when he came, he told everybody that, oh, these guys gave me a gift. I'm going to give it back to the company, but I want to enjoy it small. So he wore it. The following day, we were told that he's been sacked for wearing the watch small. But he had told all of us that he was going to give it to the gift section, but he wanted to enjoy it. Straight, you are sacked. So we also have to put these things on paper and basically enforce the sanctions. You know, recently the new director, CEO of ECG, implemented some very, very good reforms. We saw what happened at ECG. The lights went off in some areas because people were not happy. It wasn't the people at the top who were doing it, it was the people down there. So the governance and things is also reflective of a culture and a system. And we all have to train our kids a certain way and make sure that with time it reflects. Today, the culture of Ghana is different from the culture when I was growing up. Children can talk back to adults. But when I was growing up, you dare not. That was the culture then. So we need to look at it. But I'm also appealing to CEOs to enforce these rules, to make sure that these things are written out on paper so that when people are hired, they sign. And we should also not be shy of also sacking people. And when the people are sacked, don't go and beg for them. When you sack, the most difficult thing in this country is to sack somebody. Because the number of people who come and beg you, and I can say it from somebody who, I hired people. Before I became public sector, I had my business. You sack somebody, the auntie will come, your mother will call you. How do you sack? But in other jurisdictions, when you are sacked, who do you go and talk to? You are sacked. And that is one of the problems of governance in this country. It comes from the top, from the president down. People say, yeah, reshuffle. The same people who are shouting reshuffle, how did you know it's a Do you know my terms of reference? And that is the problem we have. The reason why the international organizations in this country work is because there is no culture of going to beg. If you are working for Olam and you are sacked, you are sacked. Who are you going to beg? Because nobody knows the CEO. So that is the problem we have about governance. It's a difficult one. But Nanapuku. So it is. Then there's the issue of overly paid CEOs. Money is a very subjective thing. I think what we should focus on is performance. Because you could be paying somebody 1,000 cedis a month, and the output would be 0. But they're being paid 1,000 cedis a month. You'll be paying somebody 1 million cedis a month, and the output would be 10 million. One and one for so. I personally believe that people should be paid well. I personally believe that. It's one of the things that worries me at SIGA, because I look at people's salaries, and the people sitting in front of you, if they move to any international organization or they move to any private company in Ghana, they'll be making 5 or 6 times that. So how do I keep them? I have to make sure that they get paid well. And it's one of the things that I always take up with my superiors, that you have to pay them well, otherwise they will leave. It's only a fool who will stay at a place where they are not being paid well. You have to pay people well. Yeah, since I started my career, the only time I've not been paid well is now. I've always been paid well. Even my own company, Global Media, they were paying me very well. You have to pay me well. Why would I stay there? You know, I remember when we, thanks to the French government, they took us to France to understudy the equivalent of SIGA. And the young man who was sitting to my left said, I went to one of the best schools in France, and went to here. So I asked him, so why are you working at API? Oh, I get paid very well. I get paid to do my job. My friends in banking, everything, I make more money than them. So their system there is working, because you need the brightest and the best. You know, you need the brightest and the best. So I think we should move the focus from this person is being paid so much to what is the person delivering. If that CEO is being paid houseboy, car, this, that, and they are not being paid well, I agree with you, Nanapoku, Yenyenedi. But let's make sure that that person has been given a terms of reference. That is the important thing. Haven't you heard of CEOs in America, somebody taking home $100 million? Haven't you heard that one? One person. Huh? Pardon? No, but the economy is the same. You cannot. Even if China, when they wanted to change, they brought their brightest. They paid them well. You meet the Chinese bright people, they are paid well in the communist country, because they know that they have options. And one of the things that we have to also understand in this country, bright people have options. The first class student coming out of Legon or KNUST has options. If you want him at SIGA, pay him well. Otherwise, he'll be working in France, or he'll be working in China. He'll be working in Singapore. There are options. And let's not kid ourselves that we are the only option. SIGA is not the only option. Any of my superiors, if they want to leave Ghana today, they'll get a job. So how do you keep the person? You have to. So if we cannot pay them that big sum of money, you have to give conditions that will make them happy to stay there. Because it's not everybody who is driven by a big salary. It's not everybody. I've worked around the world and I know. Some people are just driven by the right environment. They go to work and they are happy. They'll stay there. So these things, we cannot change by thinking that we can make people poor and paying them anyhow. No way. They won't stay. They'll stay crowd no way, Jimmy. Who about? Oh, back here, Juma baby, next year, and Tiana no what you are. No, about the Dimam Skanko, yeah, oh, baby. Huh? If he's delivering. But if he's delivering, they have to be paid. If they are not delivering, my problem is that CEOs who are being paid well, who are not delivering, then we should let them go. It's you the job, your media. You should find out their terms of reference. And, you know, I know the salaries of most CEOs in this country. In city terms, we may think it's a lot. But seriously, compare them to their colleagues in Rwanda, in Nigeria, even Togo. You realize that we're not paying our CEOs well. I told you the CEOs who came to copy from us. They came to learn from us. And I was asking one of them, hey, how much? We were talking about, I was surprised. I said, wow, your country can pay you that much money. He said, They need me now. If they don't, I'll go. And this is a country that's coming from war. So let's face the facts that we have to find people. President Akufo said it. We should stop pretending that we're paying people to, he said something like that. Huh? Yeah. For me, I've told my people at SIGA, I have to find them the money. If Ghana government cannot give me, we have to generate internally generated funds so that I find them the money. So that then I have to give them hard terms of reference so that they deliver. And whatever level you are in the organization, you have to deliver. If you go abroad, people work hard because they know they will get paid. They are not working hard because they are nice people or they are patriotic to their country. They are not. They are working hard because they know they will get paid. And it's simple. So we also have to have that attitude in this country. Then the politicization of appointments. Our institutions have to work. And we all have to be sincere. There's too much insincerity in this country. Why do I say that? I was nominated by His Excellency the President. I went through an interview at PSC. So at the end of the day, who gave me the job? Nana Pogu. Pardon? Who? Thank you. Was the president on the interview panel? Huh? The president, when he nominated me, did not tell me, Edward Boating, go and sit at SIGA. I was taken to PSC. Even when I started working, until the PSC letter came that you have been confirmed as Director General, my title was acting. Because PSC could have come back to say that you don't fit the bill. President will not say no. So we have to be sincere. There's too much insincerity in this country, where people are the president. The truth of the matter is you are nominated, you go through an interview process. So if you think the person cannot do the job, you, the person who is there, should be bold to tell the president that this person you brought here, he doesn't fit the bill. And it's been done in some cases, and they've been changed. So we all have to focus on this institutional building. We have to. Even ministers, when they are nominated by the president, they go through parliament for vetting. So if parliament there, they don't stop them, who do you blame? So our institutions and those who are at the helm of these institutions should be strong. That's the simple truth. There has to be some sincerity here in this country. We should stop lying to ourselves. There are too much of that. Then GNA, the mandatory age of 60. The law says that when you hit the age of 60, you can begin 2 terms. 2 years plus 2 years. You can't go beyond 65. That is the law. And as far as I know, a lot of our CEOs are within that law. But also, when people have built up expertise, you know, today in England, you can't retire people. We have to enlarge our basket. That's why, for me, I'm very passionate about what we're doing at SIGA, that if we can build our state institutions to hire more people, do more, a lot of these challenges will be resolved. Because the truth of the matter is, our cake is too small. Our cake is too small. And how do we make the cake bigger? No, you know, because we are all fighting over some very small cake. When the cake could be like this. And the people at the top have that problem, the people at the bottom have that problem. You know, you go to a country and once SOE is hiring 300,000 people. The whole Ghana sector, how many people are the SOEs hiring? We have to push the CEOs to perform. Because the person retiring at 60, only one person can come in. Not 10. So let's try and create 20 jobs instead of fighting over that one. That is my view. But there is a law, and that law has to be pushed and implemented. It's there that 60 plus 2 plus 2. You're out. And the president cannot go against the law. Sometimes some people will be giving contract because of a certain expertise. So we also have to know that maybe I may be 67 doing my job, but maybe I have some expertise that the company needs or the country needs. So we also have to be mindful of these things. When I recognize my people, I forgot my 2 pillars. Those who make me Edward Boating and SIGA. Unfortunately, they are not here. But I need to mention their names so that their family members can know that we also value them. Madame Hollister and Alex Toto. They are the ones behind me. They make me shine all the time, and I would like to thank them very much. When I mentioned the CEOs who were performing, there's one gentleman I also forgot. He passed away. He was the immediate past CEO of PBC, Mr. Richard Adia. May God save his soul. He was one person who was also very, very passionate. You know, there are people in this country who want to do good, and Richard was one of them. He came to my office, and 48 hours later, he died. And I'll never forget the conversation. I said, "Hey, Richard, he said to me, Edward, I came from a very poor family. But Cocoa Marketing Board gave me a scholarship to Opokuwari. From Opokuwari, I went to Harvard, and today I'm here. I will never let PBC collapse. And for that, you media people should never let PBC collapse." 48 hours later, Richard was dead from stress. I mean, who was stressed that? One first baby can't retirement. So what? He was so stressed because he felt that it should work. And that's the passion that we need in this country, that you will let the thing work. You know, and we need the media people to make sure that the likes of Richard and Co are always on it. It's a company with problems, but he wanted to solve it. He didn't run away from it. And that is what we need in this country. Any more questions? Or I've answered all the questions. Minister says it's over.
Thank you, Mr. Boating. My name is Cliff Ekufu. I write for the Ghanaian Times.
Ghanaian Times.
Yeah, I think it is important to know that you stated that poor corporate governance is one of the challenges, and then outlined measures to deal with it. But I would want to find out what plan do we have for recapitalization of some of these state-owned entities that have the potential, but have issues with corporate governance, which you have indicated ways of going to address them. I'd want to find out how SIGA intends to help them recapitalize so they can realize their full potentials. Thank you very much.
Who's our question?
Yes, sir. Mr. Watson, I want to find out what you are doing, as it were, to douse industrial action. You all know that some state-owned enterprises go on industrial action, and it affects the company's output or whatever. This kind of route between them and government, sometimes through pay increases and things like that. What are you doing, as it were, to bring in that considerably? Thank you.
Finish. Oh, okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much, Ghanaian. Your name again, please. Cliff from Ghanaian Times. In terms of recapitalization, we're also talking to the Ghana Stock Exchange. They believe that some of our distressed entities that have commercial potential, they can help to recapitalize some of them. So we are working with them. We are sending a memo to Cabinet for the consideration of, and when they come back, you would see some action, hopefully next year, in that regard, where some of our entities will be recapitalized through the Ghana Stock Exchange. There are some of them too that were looking for local or international partners. Now, in terms of when new capital comes into business, it comes with rules and regulations. So the stock exchange will not put money into entities that are poorly governed. That will change. And even at SIGA, we are also working on that. Whether we put money or we don't put money, you have to be properly governed. And that's why we are going through all these training programs, all these stakeholder engagements. So that will improve. And even the management of our boards is improving. It's improving. So, media, when you hear that some boards are not working, please bring it to our attention. But we think that with the steps that we are taking, some of them can be recapitalized through non-governmental sources of revenue, stock exchange, foreign direct investment, and even local. So that is important. We have a basket of companies that we are working on at this time. Now, Nana Poku, in terms of industrial action, that's the beauty of democracy. When people are not happy, they have the right to go out there and make their grievances known. So I believe in that. I just believe that people have to do it within the law. I mean, the whole world now, if you look at France, you look at UK, even China, if you follow the news in the last 3 weeks, there are a lot of strikes and industrial actions. The world is going through a difficult process now. And if we go back 100 years ago during the Spanish flu, it's the same thing. You know, it's the same thing. You know, they always say human beings, we don't learn. Sometimes it's true. Because when you go back, when the Spanish flu happened, now happened then. But what's going to happen is that the curve is down now. It's going to unleash a new wave of energy, thinking, because after the Spanish flu came the great industrial revolution. You know, that was when the automobile industry just went up. And then in the 2000s, we had a similar problem. And then technology came up. So I don't know what's going to come up after what we're going through now. But there is a new wave of thinking, a new way of doing things. Today, you can sit in Ghana and work in San Francisco. Do you know that? Thank you. A few years ago, we didn't think it was possible. But I know young people who are sitting in Ghana now, earning dollars, and their jobs is in. I asked them, what are you doing here? He said, oh, uncle, I'm working from home. So that's a new wave that's also coming up. So I think as a country, instead of maybe just trying to pull us down, the Minister of Finance said it during his hearing in Parliament, that wave of thinking that's coming, we should also embrace it and see where would it take us. You know, where would it take us? Because out of adversity comes opportunities. You know, today we all talk about Rwanda. I was in Rwanda in '94. But I made the call to PV Obeng that 2 weeks later, 800,000 people were dead. But look at how they've used that adversity to lift their country up. Look at where they are today. So we're in difficult times. And people have a right to demonstrate. And I don't think we should take it away from them. It's part of our democracy. We signed up for it. But in all the demonstrations, what is your end goal? I remember when I was at UST, we went on a demonstration. My mother caught me and called me and said, brah, demonstration now, we'll see you in 2 years. Yes. I didn't know Udim. I don't mind you demonstrating, but explain to me why I would demonstrate. They say, you move to be born now. From that day, I never demonstrated again. Because I realized I didn't have a motive. Yeah, I'm just me heavy. So I said, don't more demonstrating. Maybe they have a motive, I don't know. But it's their right. And it's in the constitution. But at the end of the day, what is the key? What do they want to achieve? So that's what we should do. But I think that, your job as media people is to unleash that new wave of thinking. How do we get from where we are now to the top? Because the curve has to go up. The curve has to go up, and it will go up. it will go up. So do you want to be left behind when it's going up, or you want to be part of it? For me, I know one thing, I want to be part of it. And I want SIGA to be part of it. So that's what I dream about. So only question, baby. Thank you. Minister, thank you very much. Okay. Okay, so first I would like to thank the media people for your time. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to working with you at SIGA. We want you to be our partner, because through you, our stories can be told. Through you, the country can hear our voice. So our door is open, and whenever you need anything from us, you can call any of my officers directly. Your key point of contact is Stephen, who is here. So please take his number so that you can always find out what you want. I think in terms of, I'd also like to appeal to my colleagues, CEOs, who are running these specified entities. There is a lot of expectation, and we should do our best. We can't do all, but let's do our best so that in years to come, whatever time God gives us, you can beat your chest and say that I was part of the transformation of this entity when it was given to us, not that you were able to use it to do your transactions. I think we should move away from a transaction mentality to a developmental mentality. That's what is killing us. Anybody gets a job in this country, we focus too much on the transactions, because that is where maybe we benefit. And I think if we move to the development side, it will also help us. And that is where we can leave our legacies. And I believe that it's time for specified entities to be counted in the transformation of this country. Anytime our names are mentioned, it's like it's a basket case. We should change that. And I believe that we can start that process with our generation of leadership. There's 30 million Ghanaians. For us to be given that opportunity, I don't think we should take it for granted, and we should do our best. It's only our best that we can do, and leave the rest to posterity. I would like to thank the Honorable Deputy Minister of Information for the hard work she's put in. She's come to my office so many times for us to have this series and the partnership between SIGA and the Ministry of Information, so that we can tell our stories, so that we can also make people aware of what we are doing. And I urge my colleagues to take it seriously. Please, we're going to send out the timetable, and there should be no excuses that I'm not ready. If you say you are not ready, we'll let the President know. But once we give you a date, we won't change it. So please work with us and work with the ministry. Thank to the good people of Ghana. We thank you for the opportunity for serving you, and I can speak for SIGA. We will do our best and we will not disappoint you. Thank you very much.
That was so inspiring. Thank you so much, Ambassador, and your team. On behalf of the Minister for Information, myself, management and staff of our ministry, I would like to pledge our continuous support for this cause. I was so inspired by your speech, especially when you spoke about the curve. In recent days, especially yesterday, I realized something, that I think for us as a country, we reached our bottom and we are climbing back up. Because especially for yesterday, the cedi has really appreciated against the dollar. It has gotten to 12, and I know it is coming all the way down. And then I went to the market, and they said, oh, a 5 kilo bag of Cindy rice is 80 cedis. And I said it went all the way to 130 cedis. And then a 25 kg gallon of oil, which went all the way to 1,200 Ghana cedis. It's now 630 cedis. I was like, oh, then something is actually changing. And with all of us putting in our best efforts and the goodwill and everything, and with those who know how to bring us out of the woods, and with all the things that, Ambassador, you have eloquently expressed here that you are doing, that I believe has already taken off, I believe we will come out very stronger. So thank you so much for your time. And to our ambassadors and our advocates, you have the platforms, we don't. So anytime we come here, we plead with you that spread the word and let us, engage in some of the very important conversations that can help us build our beloved country. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.